Hi everyone, welcome to the second module for Web Security IT Elective 2 for cycle number 2 under Engineer Ernie E. Pineda and Engineer Dennis Tacadena. Alright, so for this week's discussion, we're going to talk about how to protect your data and how to safeguard your online privacy. So we're going to take a look at the different parameters on how to protect devices. Number one, from threats. Okay, whether it is an internal or external threats. We're going to explain also how to protect your devices that are connected on the network and describe safety procedures for data maintenance. Under safeguarding your online privacy, we're going to do discussions on how to have strong authentication methods and describe safe online behaviors. Okay, so let's get to it. Alright, so first let's take a look at this slide. So this is all about protecting your devices and network. So these are just basic practices, on how to protect your devices, whether wired or wireless devices, okay, when they are connecting to the network. Okay, so the first reminder for us is number one is to keep the firewall on. Okay, so if you're familiar with firewalls, okay, so these softwares or these applications are usually preloaded with your operating system, your devices, whether it is a PC, okay, or a laptop, okay. On some tablets and other wireless devices, sometimes you will need to install third-party firewall softwares. Okay, so firewalls are used to prevent unauthorized access to your data or computing devices. Okay, they are your first defense against external threats. Okay, that might put your devices into a compromise. Okay, whether it is from an outside attacker or particularly some spywares or virus that is running through your network. Okay, so one reminder for you to use your firewall properly is that you always keep it up to date. Okay, so I believe in Windows, especially if these softwares are already preloaded, once you have a licensed operating system, it always comes with an update, that always keep, okay, not only your operating system but also your firewall up to date. Okay, so whether you do it manually or you let the OS decide to update it automatically for you, okay, that will work as long as you are always getting, as much as possible, the updated versions, okay, or the updated package of that particular firewall. Okay, so aside from firewalls, okay, of course, you're already familiar with the use of antivirus and other anti-spyware programs. Okay, again, in Windows environment, okay, if you have a Windows OS, they also come with a preloaded antivirus and anti-spyware application. Okay, so just the same with firewall. Okay, they prevent unauthorized access to your data, okay, or your devices. All right. At the same time, no, it isolates. No, it tries to mitigate firsthand. Okay, if there will be a particular, for example, like viruses, that might enter your system. Okay, so same with your firewall application. Okay, you should always keep also your antivirus and anti-spyware program or softwares up to date. Okay, so other users, even if they already have preloaded um, antivirus or anti-spyware application on their program on their devices, okay, PCs, laptops, or even tablets and cell phones. Some of them, some of the users are still finding uh, third-party antivirus and anti-spyware applications that they can install on top of the preloaded applications, or softwares that they already have. Okay, so uh, some of which are given for free. Okay, if you are using an Android phone or an iOS, they are often uh, offered free. Okay, downloaded from Play Store or iOS. Okay, but of course, it has limitations. Now, if you're using a free version of antivirus and anti-spyware, okay, it also comes with uh, its own limitations in terms of scanning and detecting viruses. Okay, um, in order for you to fully maximize the capability of that antivirus, so most of the antivirus companies, um, you will need to purchase the license. Okay, so it's either you purchase it for example, for an annual subscription, okay, or mid-annual subscription, something like that. Okay, so that you can enjoy the uh, the full feature. Okay, as along with the updates that is being offered by that particular antivirus software. Okay, so next, best practice is for you to manage your operating system and browser. Okay, since we're talking about the internet, and then the only way for you to access the internet is of course, an internet browser, right? So number one, it says here you should set the security settings at least at medium or higher. Some of the different browsers like Chrome, like Edge, okay, you can have that simple security settings wherein you put it at a medium or higher sensitivity in terms of, let's say, browsing or searching capability, no? In order to avoid websites or suspicious websites, okay, that might compromise your system. Okay. Also, okay, another best practice is same with antivirus and firewalls. Okay, you always keep your OS and browser up to date. All right, whether you're using PC again or smartphone or tablets. No, that's why uh, it is a good practice now for you to always check the Play Store for a possible update, right? That particular application or browser that you are using. Okay, especially when it comes to the use of different operating system. Okay, that is very critical. All right, and then after you search for that, okay, this the fourth or the third best practice for this one is to download and install the latest software patches and of course security updates. So if there are some, then might as well, if there's an available patch or security updates, might as well update your devices. Okay, um, because these patches are created, security updates. I think Android is giving its Android security patch at least every month. Okay, so you are being reminded of that. If not, you could manually set it up, okay, or check for it manually, okay, if it's not being automatically detected by your devices. Okay, and then the last parameter, of course, to protect all your devices, number one, okay, these are just basic practices. Okay, you use passwords. Okay, right now we have different types of uh, authorization that we can use, no? Gone are the days that you are just uh, typing, for example, let's say a simple password that you know, right? Okay, right now we have different or multitudes of options where you can password protect your device. Okay, So whether it's using codes, okay, 6-digit numbers, right, biometrics, okay, so you have a lot of options right now. Okay, next, encrypt the data. So we're going to talk about this one later as well. Encryption of data. Okay. The other one is only store necessary information. Okay, and not giving any information, not giving every information that is, um, that are very sensitive, particularly, no? And of course, the protection of IoT or Internet of Things devices. Okay, so let's move on. All right, so in addition to protecting your devices and network, okay, these are simple parameters on how to use wireless networks safely. So if you are not practicing this um, suggestions yet, no, might as well, no, uh, try it even at your wireless network at home, or if you have wireless network at the office. Okay, so these are just simple or basic ways on how to keep your networks, particularly wireless networks, safe. Number one, okay, change the preset SSID and default admin password on your Wi-Fi router. All right. Okay, so if you are installing a Wi-Fi router, especially when you are installing it for the first time, right? They have this default, right, settings. Okay, the username is put on default, the password is put on default. So sometimes you can see that on the manual of the new router, or you can see it on the website, all right, by searching the brand model and the license number, or particularly the brand of your router. So you can search the default values on their websites, or sometimes it is actually written at the bottom of the router itself or the device itself. Okay, so it is advised, okay, for us, of course, all right, to change the SSID. SSID is um, all right, is the service set identifier, okay, which is a simple or technical term for a network name. So it is actually the one that you see when you try to scan for Wi-Fi signal. Okay, those are SSIDs. Okay, so of course, if you have a new router, it will have, or it will broadcast the default SSID, the one that was pre-configured on that particular router, along with the password. Okay, so of course, as a safety reminder, okay, as long as you have access to that particular router before you deploy it, no, you try to change the SSID as much as possible, and of course, the administrative password. Okay, the admin password is the one that you use in order for you to change different settings, basic to advanced settings of that particular router. So you just don't leave it on a default state. Okay? Next, number two, it says here disable SSID broadcast. Alright, so disabling the SSID broadcast, it means that you are not allowing the router to broadcast the SSID name or the network name, wireless network name, to its users. So if someone will try to scan for a Wi-Fi signal, okay, they won't see your network name since you pre-configured your router to not broadcast it. Okay, so that is one good security practice. All right, because if users do not see the SSID name of your network, okay, they won't be able to connect and try to guess the password. Okay, so if the SSID is not broadcasting, um, users who will try to connect on your network will need to guess two parameters. One is the SSID, the second one is the password, no, which is of course pretty hard to do. Okay, uh, therefore you are already now heightening or at least putting up a certain of security level to your wireless network connection. Okay? The third parameter is to use the WPA2 encryption feature. Okay, WPA2 encryption feature, or always or short for Wi-Fi protected access 2. All right, so it is a security method that is added to the old WPA for wireless networks that provides stronger data protection compared with the old one. All right, so this one is much better compared with the simple WPA. Whenever you set for a password on a Wi-Fi setup, okay, you have the option to choose this encryption feature. Okay, so always go for this one. Okay, so these are just the basic reminders, no? Particularly in setting up your wireless network at home or at the simple wireless network at the office or at work. Next, always use caution when using public Wi-Fi hotspots. Okay, so caution daw when using public Wi-Fi. Okay, why? Okay, that is because from the term public, no? So there are a lot of people who are using that connection. Okay, so yung mga may hilig sa Starbucks dyan, no? SM free Wi-Fi. Okay, so as much as possible, no? Though these are free, right? You can still use them, but of course with caution, right? So as much as possible, no, when you're using public Wi-Fi, right? So do not send sensitive information or avoid accessing sites that has sensitive info like your bank accounts, right? Kunwari, for example, if you would try to transfer money using an application, no, on your bank account, might as well use your mobile data instead of using a public Wi-Fi wherein, you doesn't know really who are connected to that particular Wi-Fi hotspot, right? So it's just um, pushing up the risk, right? So parang pinupush mo yung risk on a higher basis if you will be using this one, particularly with the use of that kind of applications. Okay. One security thing that you can use in terms of if public Wi-Fi is unavoidable circumstance. For example, kailangan mo talaga. No? So there are some applications that you can use. Okay, like VPN apps. All right, that you can install on your phone or on your PC. Okay, that might help. Okay, but then again, if you're using free VPN application, no, it is also limited to its capability, no, to hide or to cloak your identity. All right. So in Cisco, I think we discussed what VPN is, particularly the VPN tunnel. Okay, how secure it was. Okay, especially in preventing eavesdropping or third party or um, something like that. Okay. The last one, of course, is to turn off Bluetooth. Okay, when not in use. Okay, not only, of course, not only to save or not only to save battery, right? Okay, if even if it's a laptop, tablet, or smartphone. Okay, but also it is a security concern. So as much as possible, no, do not try to use Bluetooth. Only open it when you need it. Like for example, let's say you will be using it to pair your mouse, to pair your let's say smartwatch or a Bluetooth headset. So that will do, no? Pero do not leave it on all the time. Okay? So yeah, so these are some of the basic reminders on how to protect your devices and how to safely use wireless networks. Okay, private and public. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, so along with protecting your devices and network, so when you say the word protecting, you always come with it always comes with right passwords, right? Okay, so um, how do you create your own passwords? All right, so are you using your first name, birthday, name of your dog, birthday, name of your girlfriend, boyfriend, your monthsary. Okay, right. So the things that you can easily remember, right? Okay, so but of course, those are not recommended. Okay, we have different recommendations. Okay, for you to be able to create a strong passwords, particularly unique passwords, and these are advisable to use passwords for each account or for each online account. I know it's hard to maintain that. Okay, especially if you have lots of uh, online accounts that you use, right? So especially social media accounts, right? So you do not only have one social media account like Facebook, right? Instagram, Twitter, all right, TikTok. So there are a lot. Okay. And sometimes, no, uh, we really can't avoid using one password. Okay, to all of this account. Okay, for simplicity and also for you to easily remember it. Okay, but of course that is very risky and discouraged. Okay, especially if your password is just your first name, last name, and your month, birthday month, and your birthday. Okay, without even mixing up things. Okay, so let's talk about unique passwords. All right. So passwords, of course, is the one that is our first. It's like that our first defense, no. Sobrang tagal na nito, right? So you have your username and then you have your password. But right now, okay, we have lots of authentication methods that we can add up aside from just entering the username and passwords. So marami na rin ngayon. So meron na. Okay? But let's talk about passwords first. Okay? So if you really need to remember passwords, no, again, okay, there are lots of applications right now. We call them password managers that will help you remember passwords. Okay, Google Chrome has its own method on for you to remember passwords. Sometimes when you log in on a Google Chrome, right, using your Facebook account, it will offer you, okay, using the Smart Protect, yata yun, or Smart Password Save, something like that. It will offer you if you wanted to save the password for that particular unit. Okay? Now, just be careful, no? If you're using your own personal device, why not? Okay, always click yes. So if you have your own laptop, you have your own desktop at home, you're all know you're ikaw lang yung gumagamit nun, then why not? Okay, click save. Okay? Particularly on mobile phones, right? But if it is a shared device, okay, you're using a computer on an internet cafe or an internet shop or computer laboratory at school, okay, do not ever, okay, save passwords, okay. Or sometimes, of course, for added features, sometimes yung mga ano, yung mga magagaling na, no, in terms of security and privacy, in terms of browsing, especially if they're using public devices. They will use the incognito tab, okay, or the new in private browsing tab, something like that. Okay, so that hindi sila magkamali, no, just in case if Chrome will ask, kasi in incognito, Chrome will never ask if you want to save the password with that account. If you're using the normal browser, okay, sometimes it will offer you to save the password. And kung minsan nagmamadali ka na, okay, especially when you're in a hurry, so you accidentally na-click natin yung yes. Okay, saving the password. So even if you close it, then other users will now use that device. Then when they open Chrome, okay, if you did not clear your browsing history, andun pa rin. Okay, yung mga pinag-search mo doon and also with sometimes your account as well. So very risky. Okay, especially if you don't have third-party authentication method. Okay, so those are just some of the reminders now when using private and public computers. Okay, so let's move on with tips for choosing a good password. Alright, so number one, do not use dictionary words or names in any languages. Alright, as much as possible, do not use password that is inside the dictionary. Ito yung ibig sabihin dito. Alright? Do not use common misspelling of dictionary words. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Do not use computer names or account names. Okay, username mo, I am pretty boy. Password mo, I am pretty boy 123. Alright, so that is very, very common. Alright, just for you to be able to remember all your credentials easily. Okay, so you don't actually think of the risk behind that kind of setup. Alright, next, if possible, use special characters such as these characters. So these characters are allowed. Okay, sometimes yung iba, no, particularly in Cisco, since Cisco is not allowing, meron siya mga password requirement, no? You should be able to use one of the special characters like this one caps lock, one number. Okay, so sometimes yung mga estudyante talaga, they are not used to adding this kind of characters to make the stronger passwords or unique passwords. So nakakalimutan nila kaagad. Okay, but these are some of the recommendations. Then of course, use password with 10 or more characters. 8 is the standard, but if you can go longer than 8, 10, 12, or even more, much better. Okay, so we have some examples here. So look at this. Okay, all white cat password, that is okay. But if you try to change, look at this, the letter L's are changed with number ones, still read as all white cat, but with L's changed with 1, that makes it a good password. Alright, so who would have thought that you change L's with 1s? Alright, so probably password cracker na lang siguro, or if someone would hack your account, then they would try this combination. No? Pero mahirap-hirap na yan. Or better yet, look at this. So this is adding special characters to the password that you already created a while ago. So it makes it even better and harder to guess. Look at this. A, capital A, 11, still somewhat read as all white cat, replacing the T with 7. Alright, you see it? Then C, and then at sign instead of the normal A, and then T. Okay? All white cat. Okay, I might use this password. No? Suggestion, right? On some of my account. Okay, but this one is a good, not good, but better version of the passwords here. So that is pretty much difficult to guess. Look at that. And at the same time, the text, the context is not a word. Okay, you cannot find it in a dictionary as a whole because it comprises of 3 words: all, white, and cat. So it's more like a phrase that was put into a password. Okay, the other one, FB login. Okay, this one is a good version of that. But if you put characters like period, alright, look at that. 1 fb.fb.logins. Alright, putting $sign at the end, and 0, the O there is replaced by 0. Okay, so that makes it a much unique and stronger password. Alright, so look at those combinations right there. So you might get some idea here. Okay, but then again, if you're gonna look at this one, alright, it might be, harder to memorize, familiarize, when you don't have to, because as I've said a while ago, you can use different password managers. There are lots of them right now, particularly on the application on the phone. Okay, sometimes they are even preloaded with that, no, that you can just use. Okay, so they will just save your credentials, put your biometrics in, okay, to authenticate you, and then everything is all set, something like that. Okay, just do not do the usual or the old method na isusulat mo sa papel, or if you have laptop, you put it on a sticky note Or if you have laptops or smartphone, you put it on, you write it on your piece of paper and put it on your wallet. Pag nawala yung wallet mo, that's it. Okay? Especially if it is a bank application or bank account app. So that is very risky. Okay? So, yeah. Next. All right, another tip in choosing or creating a unique password is the one that we have a while ago. So if you're going to look at this one, it is not actually a word; it is a phrase. No, all white cat replaced with the different characters. So you can use passphrase rather than a password. Okay, it's not a password anymore. It's already called passphrase because it has three words combined into one, and it's not a word that you can see on a dictionary. Okay, so it is a statement. It's more like a statement, no? So if you're choosing a good passphrase instead of password, okay, choose a meaningful statement to use. So these are some of the examples later, no? And then after you choose a simple passphrase, okay, you try to mix it up with special characters. The longer the better, okay? Of course, you should avoid common or famous statement. Okay, for example, yeah, lyrics from a popular song or some expressions like laugh out loud, be right back, right? So those are common famous statements. Okay, so you don't do away from that. Okay, so um, guidelines in terms of the NIST. These are from NIST guidelines. No? 8 characters minimum length, but no more than 64 characters. So iwag naman sobrang haba. Baka naman yung password mo 64 characters lang. Ko naman. Okay. 30 minutes ka nang nag-type ng password, di ka pa nakalagin. Especially if it's not remembered by the app. Okay. No common easily guessed password, just as password ABC123. Guess na yan. Cisco 123. Okay. Cisco class. Right. No composition rules, such as having to include lowercase and uppercase letters and numbers. No knowledge-based authentication. From shared secret questions, marketing data, transaction history, of course. Improve typing accuracy by allowing the user to see the password while typing. Alright, all printing characters and spaces are allowed. No password hints. You don't do password hints. I think si Windows tinanggal niya na to on one of its feature. Windows 10. Not sure. Okay, yung password hint, if you see that, no? Nakalock yung PC, and then it will prompt you for a password. Okay, medyo nakalimutan mo, you can put password hints. But I think this is already, or if it's still there, as much as possible, you don't add password hints. No periodical or arbitrary password expiry. Okay, so these are some of the guidelines now, guys. So let's take a look at the example. For example, all right, this is the chosen passphrase. So this is my passphrase, like that. Okay, so you can actually use this one and then try to mix it up with the special characters. So probably the first S can be replaced by $sign. The second I can be replaced with number 1, right? Something like that. Passphrase, the two S's here can be replaced by number 5. And then you put dot at the end. So something like that. No? You see it? Okay. Next, another one is a cat that loves dogs. That is an example passphrase, especially if you are an animal lover. You can use this one. A cat that loves dogs is much better. Look at the mixing up of special characters and numbers. Okay? Parang Jejemon. Okay? So, dyan gagana yung pagka-Jejemon. So, the more Jejemon characters, the better. Okay? Just make sure that you don't forget your passphrase. Okay? Baka naman ilak mo na yung sarili mo. Okay? But of course, we will still have the forget password method. So, no problem. Okay. So, again, recommendations of using passphrase rather than a password. Okay? For your unique authentication method. So, this one is better. Okay? So, web security. Okay? Password. Replace it with passphrase. Alright? And of course, if you haven't done it yet, no, wala siya dito. No? As much as possible, you try to change your password at least once a month. No, because if someone would try to guess your password and then you haven't changed it for a year, right? So they might probably have an encryption software or a password detection software that they are using na pala. Okay, it might take time, but since if you haven't changed your password for a year, so sapat na yung oras na yun para makrack na yung password mo. Okay, so as much as possible, once a month, once every 2 months, and do not recycle passwords as much as possible. No, ginamit mo na ngayong month, then change mo siya next month. On the third month, okay, gamitin mo yung ginamit mo dati. Password recycling. Again, that is not advisable. Some of the applications don't allow that, no? And especially yung mga sensitive apps like your bank application, sometimes they will require you to change your password every month or at least every 6 months yata. Sometimes, no? So magpupirasahin ka niya talaga to change your password every now and then. Okay? It depends on their security agreement or policy. Okay, next. Alright, so encrypting your data. Okay, so encrypt. In Windows, madali lang gawin ito because they have already preloaded, again, no, encryption procedure. No? So, encrypt, if you have smartphones, tablets, sometimes the photo encryptions, you can download different encryption apps that you can use. Okay? I believe in Android phones, we have app locks. Okay? Hide albums, something like that. Or encrypt messages. They have something, yung mga text messages or messages, you can also do encryption. Okay? That can only be read with the secret key or password. Alright? So, how does it work? Of course, it prevents unauthorized users from reading the content. And when you define encryption, yeah. So, in Cisco, we've been using this one like in enable secret, right? If you remember, no? Enable secret, okay, service password encryption, okay, to change the form, okay, from pure text to a certain type of encrypted message for output. All right, so it has a certain level of security na kagad, okay, by just encrypting it on a basic type, no, or easily encrypting it. Okay, next. All right, back up your data. Okay, why do we need to back up your data? Okay, now, at times, dati, no, nauso na yung mga external drives, USB drives, thumbnails, pero gasgas na yung mga yan. No? Especially if you're running servers, okay, these are just basic knowledge, no? You need to back up data, especially okay, especially if you are maintaining sensitive data. Okay, database, for example, okay, student database. Okay, your even if at your laptops, okay, your thesis writing, your thesis documents, your capstone resources, right? So these are the things that we really need to back up to prevent the loss of irreplaceable data. Okay, so in creating backups, of course, if it is a physical backup, you will need additional storage location for that data. So all you have to do is to copy, increment it. Okay, you have different softwares that can do this automatically for you. Okay, you have local backups like your external drives, your extra partition. Okay, right now, of course, no uso na. Aside from these local storages, you also have now your cloud storage services. All right, so you save it on your cloud. Okay, which is I think the safest way for you to be able to create your own backup, whether it is personal or work backup. So cloud storage right now is right there. No, it is easily accessible. Okay, some of these cloud service applications can be accessed free. No, limited nga lang. Okay, if you needed more, then you will need to subscribe for a particular cost. Okay, But of course, when you do subscription like Dropbox, okay, Box One, you have your Google Drive, which has free. Okay, premium gives you up to 15 gigs, something like that. Okay, if you have Microsoft OneDrive, you have initial 5 gig. Okay, that you can increase the capacity when you subscribe. Okay, sulit naman. Okay, but of course, it depends on what you need. Okay, baka naman your only backup, nagba-backup ka lang ng around pictures lang na nasa 1-2 gigabytes lang. And nag-subscribe ka na kagad for 1 tera. So you're gonna pay for the subscription. Okay, sayang kung di magagamit. So it still depends on the user and how big will be the yung data na binakbackup. Okay, next. All right, so in terms of data privacy, all right, we have method on how to delete your data permanently. Deleting data permanently doesn't mean that you delete it from your hard drive from Windows. And then from Windows, alam mo na mapupunta sa recycle bin. You empty the recycle bin, that's it. Okay, akala mo wala na. Okay? No. All right? If someone would try to get hands of that hard drive na binura mo na, alam mo, very safe na, no? Napura na sa my document, it was already erased from recycle bin. Okay? Akala mo safe na. Not yet. Totally hindi. Okay? Because there are some available tools okay, that can be searched from the internet. Hindi mo wala man bayad. These are freeware tools. Okay, that you can just install on an OS program or OS environment, Windows environment. I-run mo siya. And then ang gagawin niya is it will try and scan for deleted data on your hard drive. You can still retrieve it. No? Hanggat hindi na nasisira or nadadamage yung hard drive mo, especially if it is a magnetic storage, HDD. Okay? So, meron pa rin. Okay? It can still be recovered. That's why, if you are really trying to delete data permanently, okay, we have the different tools. Eh, hindi yung simpleng delete lang, move to recycle bin, empty recycle bin, no. So, we have delete, secure empty trash, for example. We have these kinds of applications that you can use to permanently delete data. Okay? Sometimes, especially in bigger companies, no, if they will be disposing their hard drives, no, kasi hindi na nasisira na. So, tatanggalin nila yung laman, ililipat sa bagong hard drive, okay, i-install sa bagong servers. So, anong gagawin nila dun sa mga lumang hard drive na merong ano? So, aside from just simply using tools, so, most of them are actually being destroyed. Okay, binabari na sa gitna, binubutasan. Okay, or talagang niyuyupi. Okay, if you've seen videos in terms of changing, pag nagpapalit sila ng mga devices, no, they literally destroy storage devices to ensure that the data is unrecoverable. This is true. Okay, and at the same time, okay, just make sure, look at this, okay, especially if you're using backup storage on the cloud, that you also delete online versions. Okay, so you're not only deleting the physical data, but also the online versions. Okay? So online, of course, wala ka namang reason for you to destroy hard drives because you don't own them online. No? It is just saved on the cloud. So when you delete them and then you're authorized to delete certain data on your cloud, bubuhin talaga yun. Okay? So, mas safe. That's why the cloud, as long as your passwords, security parameters, third-party authentication methods are put up into place, mas safe talaga yung cloud storage. Okay. All right. Next, so I'm talking about this authentication features. Okay, let's talk about this one. All right. So let's talk about two-factor authentication. Okay. So Popular online services, okay, particularly yung mga sensitive online applications like banking, okay, social media. Okay, Facebook doesn't have two-factor authentication, pero you can choose, like in Google Chrome or Google, I think, for example, you can choose to have one if you want. Pwede siya. Okay? So, two-factor authentication, for example, let's say, ito yung, aside from your username and password, okay, when you log in, it will have some features, like, for example, let's say, sending an OTP, or what we call as a one-time password, to your registered SIM card number. Right? So, ang gagawin mo, okay, when you receive that number, so it's either a 4-digit or 6-digit number, you will need to log in that particular code for you to continue access dun sa system na ginagamit mo. So, if it is a mobile app, okay, sometimes OTPs can be changed with, for example, let's say, yun nga, biometrics like passwords, PIN, okay? We also call them second token, ano, for easy access. Ang dami ng mga commercials ngayon, like say, I think BPI or PS Bank, for example, no? You can put mobile lock, something like that. That before you can withdraw money, yes, you have the ATM code. Alam mo yung ATM code, you have your ATM card, okay? But you still cannot withdraw money as long as you enable the withdraw using your application or using your mobile phone. Okay? So, meron ka man gagawin sa mobile phone mo, okay, to enable money withdrawal. Okay? So, kahit na meron ka ng meron ka ng ATM, sa'yo na yun, you know your code. So, may mga ganong mga second token na ginagamit for access. I'm sure, sa Facebook naman, no, you can use what we call is yung Google Authenticator. Okay, you can use that. Me personally, I'm using that, Google Authenticator. You can download it from Play Store. No? Ang gagawin mo lang is to register your Facebook account, for example, your Google account, okay? And then what it does is, even if you don't have internet, no, when you try logging in using your Google account, for example, Gmail, alright, or sa browser, okay? Ang gagawin muna niya is, after you put in your username and password, okay, when you press enter, okay, it will ask for a code. Now, that code will not be sent to you. Okay, ang gagawin mo, yung code na yun, kukunin mo siya from the app. So, you have your phone, you have the Google Authenticator installed on your phone, you open it, and then, kada login mo, it will randomly create a 6-digit code, okay, for you to enter dun sa page before you can proceed. Alright? So, ganun siya. Or sometimes, if you've been using this dati pa, no? For example, let's say, when you log in for Google Chrome, sometimes, especially when you enable it on the security settings ng Chrome, Google account, no? It will ask you if kung ikaw ba yun or hindi using your mobile device. So, if you're the one logging in, tatanungin ka lang, okay, I detected a login on this particular device at this place. Is this you? Yes? No? So, you will have to click yes. Kung ikaw talaga yon, then, of course, okay, right then and then, you can detect if someone is trying to log in on your account in your behalf, or someone is trying to log in to your account ng unauthorized users. So, you can do that, okay? Pinasimple na nga yan, no? Aside from the pins, alright, you can do biometrics, especially if your mobile phone has fingerprint scanner. Okay? So, ano pa nga ba yung mga bagong mobile phones na wala ngayon? No? Fingerprint scanner, facial recognition, this will do, no? Except for the usual 6-digit code PIN, pwede na rin yung scanner. Okay? If you're accessing your bank account, okay, using your phone, okay, instead of memorizing passwords, you just link your biometric fingerprint scanner to it. Okay, so mas madali na siya. Right? So yeah, so these are different two-factor authentications that you can use. No? I think the biometric scan is the most efficient here because you don't need to memorize anything. Just make sure, no, of course it is safe. Kasi nga, this is your fingerprint, right? Your face as well. Okay? So, yeah, this one will work. Okay? Next. Alright, so again, in terms of some reminders lang before we end, no sharing too much info, do not share too much on social media, paulit-ulit na lang to. Think before you click. Alright? Share as little info as much as possible, but it's easier said than done, right? Especially kapag social media person ka talaga. So, kada kimot mo, breakfast mo, ulam mo, post mo, matutulog ka, post mo. Okay? You have a new flat screen TV at home. Post it. So, yeah. These are just some of the circumstances that should be avoided, particularly in social media posting. Alright? So, you can do that. Okay? So, self-control. And then, of course, there are lots of social media settings that can help you personalize the security setting of your social media accounts. Alright. So, basic reminders lang naman. Okay, email and web browser privacy. Alright, so emails, copies of emails can be read by anyone with access, of course. Right now, we have Google sharing methods, sharing capabilities. So, ingat din doon. Okay, especially when you're sharing your Google Drives. Alright? Do not try to look at the policies, okay, yung read only, especially if you're just say sharing it for viewing purposes. Kumbaga parang may restrictions pa rin. Okay, pero if it is a collaborator, okay, or collaborating with someone, for example, you're working with your capstone document, no, kailangan din yung mag-edit. Alright, so that is the time that you grant editing access. Alright, so ganun siya. Alright, so in private browsing, okay, we have, okay, I mentioned in private mode a while ago. Okay, this doesn't save anything that you've searched. Alright, anything that you logged in, okay, what account you've used. So, especially if you're using public devices, no? So, wala ng Microsoft Internet, it's Microsoft Edge already. You can use in private. For Chrome, it uses incognito. So, pare-pareho lang itong mga terms na to. In Firefox, you use private tab or window. In Safari, you use private browse. This is for Mac. Alright. So, I think that ends module 2. Hanggang dito lang yung coverage niya. Okay. For some reminders in terms of security with the web. Okay, so I hope you've learned something and then you try to apply this one, particularly kanina, sa changing password into passphrase and then mixing special characters, making your password unique and stronger. Kasi doon naman nag-uumpisa lahat, no? So, sa password cracking. So, as much as possible, you try to come up with your own unique and stronger passwords. Alright, so yeah, so this is module 2. Again, Engineer Ernely Pineda. See you again on the next modules. Alright, thank you guys, and goodbye.